So, hey, welcome to the show. Eric from Easy Auto Ship. Please say hello to the Tuesday Nights Live audience.
How you guys doing out there? Yeah, looking forward to the show tonight. POV, privately owned vehicle shipping, is definitely a different animal in the car shipping business. It's niche and unique. It has its challenges. It has its upsides, downsides, and looking forward to chatting about that stuff with you guys tonight.
Now, first of all, POV car shipping, we are talking about privately owned vehicles. These are the individuals like you and I, people, real people with real lives whose cars are vital to their livelihood and business.
Exactly. In our business, nobody just wakes up and says, "Hey, I feel like shipping a car today," for no reason. They got a situation, and it's an important situation. Their car is, in most cases, their second or first biggest asset in their life, and the reason they need to ship it is very important to them, and they're looking for a solution to their problem, and we're here to solve that. And it's not just our job to give them a quick price and get a job done. It's our job to investigate their situation, really find out what's going on so that we can solve it appropriately and make it go off without a hitch, which is not easy to do sometimes because we're dealing with one car moves. You know what I mean?
Right.
And it's, you know.
Right. That's not what transporters are not looking to move one car at a time.
Right, it's difficult. So there's a lot of factors that go into play in having to make that happen. And part of our job is really finding out what the situation is and pricing things appropriately so that a transporter can do the job. It makes sense for him economically, and we get the job done and solve the consumer or whoever it may be. It could be a dealership sending it to a consumer, but it, you know, solve their situation. You know, they have a situation at the end of the day, and we're here to solve that for them.
It's not like you're just scanning a grocery and checking out. It's not that simple.
It's not. And in today's world, POV car shipping has changed drastically over the last 6-7 years because before 2013 or so, it was mainly driven from metro to metro city because high-speed internet was only available at those points in metro cities. You know, if you lived in the outskirts, you weren't shopping at sites like eBay Motors because you couldn't get high-speed internet, download pictures, you know, and I mean all that stuff.
Right.
So you weren't triggering. There wasn't a lot of online triggering of POV car shipping needs. And now you could be, you know, a 16-year-old kid and your dad said, "Hey, go ahead and pick your dream car out. You got this budget." And that kid's searching all over the country. And he may live out in the middle of nowhere. You know what I mean?
Well,
so it's,
you just made me think. I'm going to guess that if you go backwards in time, people were a lot more helpful about where they might meet a driver, right? Or flexibility of time. And today it's like, no, it's 2:30 in my driveway, guaranteed.
Right. Well, that's today's world.
Yeah. And that's
I want what I want, and I want it now where I want it.
And that's another thing is that I'm not, again, I feel like I always say this, I'm not making fun of anybody, but it's not fair to yourself to think that's realistic unless you're paying for that. That's going to cost.
Well, and that's exactly right. I mean, and which is why we use softwares like Transport Auto Quoter. It figures out the economics of a single car move, which makes sense to the driver. Because at the end of the day, that's the only way we're going to move vehicles appropriately in the timely fashion that we need to move them. And it makes sense for a driver and for the driver to get paid appropriately so he's happy about it and he gives our customer a good experience.
If the driver's
just take load just because he needed to fill a spot and then he's pissed and he says, "Here's your load, you should have paid this." You know what I mean? When he gets there.
And boy, that has happened. And that's where you run into
does.
Yeah. If you think you're going to pull one over on the driver, wait till he gets there.
That's exactly right. To believe it, drivers are not scared to tell you what they think.
I mean, no, they're not. And they've been driving hundreds of miles planning
Right. And if he's going to drive 100 miles out of a major metro city and get the same price he would have in the metro city, that last 100 miles, his blood's starting to boil. You know what I mean?
Oh,
He's like, oh
his
man.
ELD's going crazy, and
Yep.
he's got to skip lunch just to get to the end of the day.
And when he gets there, he's not so happy. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
he might have made 40 cents a mile to that metro city, and then he's making another 40 cents a mile going out on some single laden road for an hour and a half to deliver this car where he's not picking anything up for sure.
I was just
You know
going to
what I
say,
mean?
exactly. So not only has he gone way out of the way, and maybe he's, oh, here's, how about low hanging trees? Isn't that another one? Nobody thinks about the trees around them, like,
Yeah.
and until the car shows up. Right.
So I mean, that would, like I said, that's why we use like TAQ, because it knows, how economically it needs to be priced. So say something's come from LA to Columbus, but if it's in Chillicothe or New Lexington, Ohio, which may only be 35, 40 miles outside of Columbus, but it's a hard 35, 45 miles. And that driver needs $1.50 a mile for that last 50 miles. He just does, because it's a pain in his ass.
Man, I mean, he's got to drive slower. And I mean, there's just so many reasons.
There's so many factors.
Crazy.
There's way more chance of him getting a ticket. There's so many factors going outside the metro city.
No kidding. Exactly. Just being off the beaten path that far, now you run into a DOT officer, and he hasn't had a great day, and he's, oh yeah, no, it is unbelievable what happens, and all because when we go back to the inception of the order, somebody wasn't willing to get real about what is gonna go down.
Right, and that's the thing. So,
or they didn't know, or they weren't experienced.
Right, exactly. And which is why, if you're a new POV broker out there, we do suggest using something like Transport Auto Quoter that figures it out. It just knows what it should be priced at. Because if you use something like JTracker, and it goes off of a history of things versus what it should economically pay, it's not a very good idea, because you're going to see things that drivers have taken things for, but that's not what they necessarily should have been paid.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
In fact, that makes me think of speculation. You're just speculating. Well, the last three guys did it for nothing. Well, that was stupid.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it doesn't mean that doesn't mean you should follow in their footsteps.
And as a dispatcher for a carrier, the one booking the load, the one negotiating, I've said flat out to brokers that have said, well, if you look at the compare button, I'm like, you know what? That means nothing.
It doesn't.
Those were all terrible decisions. Let's go with the jump off the cliff. Just because those last three guys jumped off the cliff, are you going to jump off the cliff? Well, hey, it's like, no, it's good for the goose, good for the gander. Don't do it. Don't hit the compare button. Use logic.
Right, and even when you do hit the compare button, you usually, they give you like 5 comparables, and there's like a $300 range.
Oh, you know
what I mean?
And
maybe one guy made a good decision and 4 guys made bad decisions.
And which one do they focus on? The low number.
Right. Oh my gosh. They think, oh, I got this deal. Because the consumer's looking for the best price.
And so it keeps going around and around, because then we come back to what the customer. How do you explain to I think I asked you this. How do you explain to a customer, you're lowballing? This is a terrible idea.
Well, as our job is to. Like I said,
Mike just asked, don't brokers lowball the prices to get the job?
A lot of brokers do. I don't want to say a lot, but some brokers do, and it's our mass nemesis. It's our worst. We hate competing against that, because we buy leads that against some brokers that do lowball and bait and switch and whatnot.
Yeah. Well,
but at the end of the day, it's our job to find out their situation, so we know what to price it at. So we investigate the route, and we have to logically we teach our reps that we have to logically explain to the customer why the price is what it is. And they have to logically understand it because they don't know anything about our business. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So
right.
we have to convey what we're selling to them to solve their solution in a logical way.